This is a video of the reinstallation of the Suckit dust boot for my ShapeOko2 CNC machine with the DW660 spindle. I say reinstallation because, as you can see here, I'm taking it all off. After I put it on, I realized the up and down travel of the dust boot was way too low, and I went back and watched the original installation video, which I'll link in the comments below, and then realized that I had them on upside down. And after I fixed that, the travel up and down was much more what it's supposed to be. So once I had that fixed, I put everything back on, and then I realized that the dust boot going in and out to line up with the spindle was not lining up quite right with my 660. And so when I took it off, I realized, oh, there's these screws on the side of the boot that allow you to adjust the magnet locations. So I unscrewed those, and I slid the dust boot to be as far back as I could. And even after I adjusted that to be as far back as I could get it, when I put it back on, it still wasn't quite lining up. So I realized that I needed to do something here to get it to line up even further. And I noticed that the inventor of it had put some threaded inserts into the acrylic, and that's what you were using to adjust it. And I had some threaded inserts on hand. You can see that the amount there that it's missing is just a little bit too much, even with it adjusted all the way back or forwards, depending on how you're looking at it. That's where I needed to be, right about there. So I decided I would take some of my own threaded inserts. Here you can see I'm drilling a hole in each side of the dust boot to allow the adjustment mechanism to slide even further. I didn't need much, I just needed about another ½ of an inch. So there you can see the hole for the threaded insert that I'm going to put in my own. Mine's actually not the same thread size as the one he had, and I was too impatient to order the same ones and wait for them to come in. So you can buy these threaded inserts on eBay or on Amazon in packs of like 50 or something, and they're great for acrylic like this, or if you're doing 3D printing and you need to add something with threaded holes in it. So I just put the threaded insert on the soldering iron and slowly push it in and let it melt its way in until it gets flush with the surface. So here you can see the first one going in. It goes in pretty easy. Trying to just get it perfectly flush with the surface. Then I can do the other one. The other one, I believe, went in even easier than the first one. And once that melted acrylic dries in the little grooves of that threaded insert, it's really solid. It's not going to go anywhere. So I had some extra metric socket head cap screws on hand that fit my threaded inserts, and I'm just going to use the original screws on the front threaded insert that the dust boot provides. My screws were a bit too long, so here you can see I cut the screws down to size to be about the same length as the originals, and I had a few washers that I was going to put around the cap screw. So here I ground down a little bit of the edge so it fit good in the groove. So I put those in, tightened them up, and now you can see the adjustments are further back by about ½ an inch of what they were from the original. Now, I probably over tightened these. My dad taught me a long time ago to never over tighten plastic, and I was probably doing that a bit too much. So now when it slides in, my spindle seems to go straight through the hole there, and I was able to get to work on the vacuum port. Now the first time I tried the vacuum port, I had a full-size hose in the adapter that it comes with, and you can see here as soon as I started moving the spindle, it hit the hose. So I pushed the feed hold button to stop it before it broke anything. But that obviously wasn't going to work. I needed some way to get that hose to be a little bit further away from the Z carriage. So what I decided to do, even though I'd much rather use the full-size hose for the dust collection, is I got a smaller hose and sort of put together an adapter with something I had around the shop and adapted the bigger opening down to a smaller hose, and that allowed it to travel more freely. So here I started just a quick little test cut. This is just a V carving, so there's actually not much dust, but it does, you know, it gave me a good feeling that the vacuum was actually picking up the dust that it was throwing up. So far I'm really liking this dust boot, along with wishing I could adjust the boot in and out a little bit further so it would line up. I do wish that there was an option for some longer bristles, maybe a second boot that would have longer bristles, and that's because anytime you're milling over something that might have like clamps on the table, or just the workpiece might be raised up, if you need to clear that with the dust boot, then you'd like to sometimes have longer bristles to still be able to collect lots of dust. But other than that, I've been very happy, and if there are other ShapeOko2 users, this is a great dust boot. It might require some minor modifications though.